My friends, I want to begin this video by talking straight to you, to every Australian senior, retiree, and family member who cares deeply about their independence, their safety, and their right to keep living life on their own terms. Because as of the 5th of November, something very important is changing across every single Australian state. Whether you live in New South Wales, Queensland, Victoria, South Australia, Western Australia, Tasmania, or the Northern Territory, new driving rules for older Australians are about to take effect, and they could decide whether or not you can continue to drive, renew your license, or even keep your car on the road. This is not just a small update. These are major changes that will affect drivers aged 67 and above, with new medical assessments, eyesight checks, and renewal conditions that every senior needs to understand before November 5th. So please, don't click away. This video could protect your license, your freedom, and your peace of mind. And before we go deeper, if you care about staying up to date with the newest government changes, pension updates, and important senior-friendly news like this, make sure you hit the subscribe button right now. It's free, it supports our channel, and it ensures you never miss the updates that matter most for older Australians. Driving is more than just getting from one place to another. For so many older Australians, it means independence, being able to visit your children or grandchildren, attend medical appointments without waiting hours for a bus, do your own shopping, or simply enjoy the freedom of a Sunday drive along the coast. That's why these rule changes have created such strong emotions in the community. Many seniors feel anxious, and rightfully so. They ask, will I still be allowed to drive after my next birthday? Others worry about complicated medical paperwork or fear being unfairly restricted even if they feel completely capable behind the wheel. So today, I'll explain everything clearly, what's changing in each state, why it's happening, what new requirements you might face, and most importantly, how you can prepare and protect your license before November 5th. Let's start with what's at the heart of this: safety and responsibility. Understanding why the rules are changing every few years, Australian states review driving regulations to keep roads safer, not just for seniors, but for everyone. Over the past decade, there's been a steady increase in the number of older drivers on the road. In 2024 alone, more than 1 in 4 licence holders were aged 60 or older, and that number is still rising fast. Transport departments across Australia say they are not trying to punish seniors. They are responding to an ageing population and trying to prevent accidents caused by declining eyesight, slower reflexes, or health issues like diabetes or dementia that can quietly affect reaction times. But here's where things get controversial. Many experts and senior advocates argue that the new rules go too far, creating stress, confusion, and even unfair barriers for capable, experienced drivers. And depending on where you live, the requirements are quite different. So let's carefully walk through what's changing in each major state, starting with New South Wales, then moving to Queensland, Victoria, South Australia, Western Australia, Tasmania, and finally the Northern Territory. New South Wales annual checks starting at age 75 with 2025 adjustments. In New South Wales, seniors already know that once you reach 75, you need to complete a yearly medical assessment to keep your license. But from the 5th of November, new guidelines are being introduced that lower the threshold for optional assessments beginning at age 67, meaning your doctor might now recommend a pre-screening medical test even before 75, especially if there are signs of declining health, medication changes, or vision concerns. The Roads and Maritime Services, RMS, Department will begin sending updated renewal reminders that highlight this new advisory check for those aged 67 and older. It's not mandatory yet, but doctors have been given new reporting responsibilities. So if your GP believes you have a condition that could impact driving, they must inform the RMS earlier than before. Also, from November 5th, NSW drivers who choose to switch to a modified license, allowing them to drive only within a set distance from home, for example, 10 to 15 kilometers, will now get a discounted renewal fee and a simplified test process. The idea is to help older Australians maintain local mobility without feeling forced to give up driving completely. But it's essential to understand the system now has stronger data sharing between doctors and transport authorities, meaning health changes that were once private could now automatically trigger a license review. Queensland New Vision and health test requirements. Now let's move north to Queensland, where the Department of Transport and Main Roads, TMR, has confirmed that from the 5th of November, drivers aged 75 and above will need to provide a medical certificate for motor vehicle driver Form F3712 every 12 months. But the major update affects drivers aged 67 to 74 as well. If you fall in that younger group and have any medical conditions listed under the new Senior Health Risk Register, such as diabetes, epilepsy, heart conditions, or even mild arthritis that affects steering, you'll be required to provide your doctor's clearance at renewal. There's also a brand new vision screening initiative where optometrists can directly upload your eyesight test results to TMR. This means if your vision doesn't meet the required standard, for example, 6/12 in both eyes with corrective lenses, you may need to retest before being cleared to drive. Queensland is also introducing a digital reminder service that alerts you by text message when your medical or license renewal is due. A helpful tool, but one that's already confusing some older drivers who prefer paper notices. The message here is simple: don't wait for a letter. If you're turning 67 or older this year, book a quick vision and health check with your doctor or optometrist before November 5th, so you're ahead of the curve. Victoria changes to conditional licensing and mandatory retesting over in Victoria. VicRoads has announced that from November, it will expand its conditional license program for seniors. Until now, retesting after 75 was rare unless you had a known medical condition. But from the 5th of November, anyone over 67 who fails a standard eyesight screening at renewal may be asked to complete an on-road driving review. These reviews aren't just about your reaction times, they also look at how safely you merge, turn, park, and respond to unexpected hazards. The tests will be conducted by accredited assessors, and the cost will vary between $50 and $80 depending on the testing centre. The most concerning change for many Victorians is the new Fit to Drive declaration. Every senior renewing their licence must now tick a box confirming that they have no medical condition affecting their driving. Signing this falsely could result in penalties if later evidence shows otherwise. However, the good news is that VicRoads is also offering more support programs, such as free refresher driving courses for seniors and educational workshops that teach updated road rules and safe driving strategies. It's important to note that these rules are meant to encourage awareness, not fear. If you're proactive, getting your eyes checked, keeping up with medical advice, and practicing safe habits, you'll likely have no problems continuing to drive well into your 70s or even 80s. Now that we've talked about New South Wales, Queensland, and Victoria, let's move to the rest of the country, because the upcoming changes affect every single Australian state and territory in slightly different ways. Some states are tightening medical checks, others are changing licence renewal timeframes, and a few are even offering new support options for seniors who want to keep driving safely. South Australia 2-year medical reports and voluntary driving reviews. In South Australia, the Department for Infrastructure and Transport, DIT, has confirmed an adjustment to its Senior Driver Health Review program. Starting the 5th of November, drivers aged 75 and older will continue to require annual medical assessments, but the change is in the optional pre-screening age group. From now on, anyone aged 67 or above will receive an early notification from the DIT encouraging them to complete a voluntary medical fitness declaration, even if their renewal isn't due yet. This form asks about medications, eyesight issues, dizziness, and mobility. It's voluntary for now, but DIT officials say these early checks help build a safety record and prevent sudden license suspensions later on. If your doctor identifies a moderate health issue, you may be placed on a 2-year review schedule rather than the traditional 1-year review. This means fewer medical visits if your condition is stable, but the trade-off is that your medical history becomes part of the DIT's online monitoring system, allowing them to trigger new reviews automatically if anything changes in your medical records. Another new initiative in South Australia is the voluntary on-road review program. Seniors aged 67 plus can now request a short, non-penal on-road evaluation with a trained assessor to identify small issues before they become serious. The DIT says this is not a driving test, it's a friendly checkup. If you pass, you receive a certificate of driving confidence, which can help prove your ability if anyone questions your fitness later. While these rules may sound strict, South Australia's approach is considered one of the most balanced in the country, focusing on education, not punishment. Western Australia 5-year to 3-year licence renewals. Let's talk about Western Australia, where the Department of Transport has rolled out new timelines for licence renewals for senior drivers. Up until now, most older drivers could renew their licence for 5 years at a time. But from the 5th of November, 2025, that will officially change for anyone aged 67 and over. Instead of a 5-year renewal, you'll now have to renew every 3 years until you turn 80, after which it becomes an annual renewal. The goal is to ensure that medical and vision checks happen more regularly, and that drivers stay aware of their physical and cognitive health as they age. The WA government has also introduced a mandatory self-assessment form at every renewal. This form asks a few simple but serious questions. Do you ever experience blackouts? Have you noticed vision loss at night? Do you take any medications that make you drowsy? Have you had any falls or mobility issues in the last 6 months? Doctors have been instructed to report any yes answers directly to the department, even if the driver hasn't been formally diagnosed with a condition. This has raised some privacy concerns, especially among seniors who fear losing their licence unfairly. However, Western Australia is also offering more flexible licensing options. You can now apply for a local area licence, which limits your driving distance, but allows you to skip certain medical retests if your doctor approves. This helps seniors who no longer drive long distances keep their independence for daily activities like shopping or visiting nearby family. Tasmania mandatory vision checks and online renewal option next. Let's head south to Tasmania, where changes are also being introduced from the 5th of November. The Department of State Growth has announced that all drivers aged 67 and above must now provide a vision test result at the time of license renewal, even if you have no known eye conditions. Previously, this rule only applied to those aged 75 or older. The goal is to identify early signs of vision loss caused by cataracts, glaucoma, or age-related macular degeneration. The department has also created a brand new online renewal system which allows seniors to renew their licenses from home as long as they've completed their medical and vision checks beforehand. Many Tasmanian seniors welcome this, saying it saves time and avoids long queues at Service Tasmania centres. Still, senior advocacy groups warn that some older citizens aren't comfortable using online forms or don't have reliable internet access. That's why the government has promised to keep paper renewals available until at least 2027, ensuring no one is left behind. One positive addition in Tasmania's update is the Safe Driving for Life workshop, a free course where drivers aged 65 plus can attend a short session about new road laws, reaction time techniques, and fatigue management. Seniors who attend the workshop may even qualify for small insurance discounts with select providers. Northern Territory new capability assessments for remote drivers. Finally, we turn to the Northern Territory, which is introducing a pilot program unlike any other state system. From the 5th of November, older drivers living in remote or regional areas will be invited to participate in capability assessments. These are short practical evaluations conducted by local police or accredited community officers. The reason for this is simple. In many small NT communities, there are no nearby driving schools or medical centres, making it hard for seniors to meet the usual requirements. Instead of forcing seniors to travel hundreds of kilometers to the city for a test, these assessments will happen locally. They'll focus on safe steering, judgment at intersections, and night driving ability. If you pass, you'll be granted a 5-year license with possible conditions, for example, no driving at night or beyond a set radius. If you fail, you'll be offered driver retraining rather than immediate suspension. The NT government says the aim is to keep older Territorians safely mobile, not stranded. Why these changes matter? At this point, you might be wondering, why is this all happening now, and why at once? The answer lies in the National Transport Strategy being coordinated by the Austroad Senior Licensing Task Force, which has been studying accident data for over 5 years. They found that drivers over 65 are statistically less likely to be involved in reckless driving or speeding incidents, but when accidents do occur, they are more likely to cause serious injury or death, especially due to slower reflexes or health-related issues. These findings pushed each state government to introduce preventive steps, not to take away licenses, but to reduce risks before tragedies happen. At the same time, there's another motivation behind these reforms. Australia's population is aging fast. By 2030, more than 5 million Australians will be over the age of 65, and around 80% of them will still hold active driving licenses. That's millions of people needing regular assessments, renewals, and health checks, so the system is being updated to manage that growing demand more efficiently. Still, many seniors feel that these changes are being rushed without enough consultation or understanding of real-world struggles. For example, what happens if your local GP charges $120 for a medical form that used to be free? What if your town doesn't have a testing center? These are real issues, and they must be part of the conversation moving forward. The emotional side, independence versus safety. Let's take a moment to talk about what this really means for seniors emotionally. Because beyond all the government talk, this is deeply personal. For many people over 67, their car is not just transportation, it's freedom. It's the ability to wake up, go to the local market, drive to the beach, pick up a friend for lunch, or attend church without relying on others. Losing a license can feel like losing independence, and that can have serious emotional effects, including anxiety, depression, and isolation. That's why, as we discuss these new laws, we must remember that every driver deserves respect, dignity, and fair treatment. The goal should never be to strip away freedom, but to ensure that freedom comes with safety. And for family members watching, sons, daughters, or grandchildren, it's important to talk to your loved ones kindly about these changes. Don't make them feel guilty or incapable. Instead, offer help, drive with them occasionally, help them with online renewals, or accompany them to their vision tests. Driving safely into your 70s or 80s is absolutely possible. Thousands of Australians do it every single day. The key is awareness, regular health checks, and honest communication.